Well, James, first of all, good morning. Good to speak to you.
Good morning, Mike.
New contract then for Joe Rowley. Given the way that you've spoken about him over the last couple of weeks, I'm imagining you're very pleased to get that done.
Really, really happy with that. He's an asset to the club. We have to protect our assets, and he's shown mass potential to really kick on and develop his game. He's still a young lad. I think because he's been around quite a while, people forget his age. And he's got quite a bit of experience for his age, over 100 appearances in League One, League Two, and now in the National League. He just needs a bit of confidence, which he seems to have regained in his first 25 minutes at Bournemouth. I think he showed that. He took the ball really well. He adapted his pressure out of possession for us and really pressed well. So he deserves that, and hopefully when he comes back from his injury, he can regain that form quickly and kick on.
Yeah, you mentioned there would be a scan on Thursday. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, it's a grade 2, so it'll be around 5 weeks. But you never know with hamstrings; they can heal quicker, or sometimes you can get setbacks. So we don't know too much on the timescale, but roughly around a month or so on him. Well,
it's perhaps a little bit better than maybe it seemed the other night.
Yeah, it is a little bit better than we thought, and he's positive about it. Ultimately, though, you know, Joe has been realistic about his wage demands. I think that was important as well for his age, where he's at, and he's working within the new budget structure for his wage demands. So I think that's important as well, that financially it works and it's realistic really where he is in his development.
When it comes to that wage structure, and obviously one of the tasks that you've got in the next few weeks and months is moving players on, how is that process going along?
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be an announcement shortly, maybe in the next week or so, probably from the board, that will explain what the plans have been and what's actually gone on in the process. But I don't want to comment too much on that, but I think there'll be news on that in the coming days.
Has the fact that obviously there's a bit of a concern over the future of National League North and South and the National League continuing this season, has that prevented movement that otherwise might have happened because clubs don't quite know where they stand yet?
I think so. It's fair to say that some of the individuals within the playing squad would have maybe got a loan, probably to the north and the south, but that's stopped in the last 2 weeks because it's probably been around now that there's been whispers. Obviously, before there was a suspension in the south and the north, and that's obviously going to prevent chairmans from releasing funds at that level. So it's understandable, but also obviously it puts us into a bit of a minefield into what to do with the players that aren't involved in the squad at the moment because they need game time. And we obviously want to recoup some money for them. So it's not meant to be at the moment, but we've got plan B and C, and that's very much in place. And as I said, that'll probably be announced from the board in the coming days.
I mean, plan A obviously is for the season to carry on as is. So how hopeful are you that can happen?
I can't really comment on that. I said that last week in the press conference. It's not my remit. All we need to do is keep our heads down, carry on and be prepared, and make sure we're ready, which we've been doing. Really excellent start against Wrexham in the first 25, and excellent start in the game against Bournemouth away from home. So I'm looking to continue that tomorrow.
When we last spoke, you talked about coming back after isolation and not being so concerned about game 1, but the condition of the squad after game 2, game 3. In terms of that, how is everyone?
Well, I think if you watched the game, Mike, on Tuesday, we dropped in energy in the last 25 minutes, which is understandable. But at the same time, as we conceded the territory because we knew we didn't have the energy to carry on the tempo that we did, I thought we were very unfortunate not to score in the first 25 minutes of the second half. So I was delighted really with the energy that we showed and the enthusiasm we played with. It was coupled with obviously the injury for Joe scuppered our momentum a little bit in the first half. We were really in the ascendancy then. But Liam came back out at half-time, Liam Mandeville, and I thought he played the role superbly, and we really should have scored in that period. We didn't. It was important we got a minimum of a point then at that stage in the latter stages of the game.
Other than Joe, do you have any other injury concerns coming out of this into Dagenham on Saturday?
Yeah, Tom's still unavailable. Tom Denton. He's actually having an operation on Tuesday to clear up his knee. We're hoping it's just a clear up, but obviously when you open up the knee, anything can come forward for the surgeon. So if there's anything else in there that needs doing, then it may be done. It could be a longer layoff than we thought, but we're looking at around 10 weeks for Tom.
one of the things that struck me after you spoke after the Dagenham game was you talked about the dressing room being louder. I'm just wondering what the key elements you feel are to a healthy dressing room culture, and how many you now see in this Chesterfield squad.
It's encouraging individuality, really, on and off the field. They need to express their characters off the field as well, in and around here, at the ground, where we're based, in the change room, obviously before and after games and training, etc. So it's a mix of things, really, but it's allowing that environment to flourish, and different individuals coming into the change room is important, who we recruited, and I'm very happy with the characters that were recruited and in there at the moment. It's a good place to be at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, how much of that is obviously what you can do in terms of bringing people in, and how much is organic and comes from the players themselves?
It's a mix, isn't it? It's you never know how it's going to work when you bring new recruits in to any organisation in the world. But as my role as the manager, and obviously the support staff with me, we've got to make sure we get the right characters, because without that, you're never going to succeed. In whatever organisation you're in, it always comes back to people, and you're getting the best out of.
Yeah.
You know,
it's some pretty obvious challenges at the moment in terms of actually trying to build a team spirit away from obviously training and games and stuff. You can't take a paintballing or something, can you? I mean, how have you tried to overcome that?
It's just making sure there's smiles on faces, and more emphasis perhaps on that in training when you've actually got them together. Because away from that, you're quite right, we can't do anything, no social stuff. So it's about that bond on the training field, in and around games, and making sure we enjoy the wins and enjoy the good performances at the moment. We're obviously reading quite a lot of the social media, because that interaction with the supporters isn't there in the stadiums as well. And the players are well aware of obviously the community coming together behind the team. It's fantastic at the moment. It's a real good feel factor. I'm delighted how the new recruits have come in, and the team dynamics is obviously very positive.
And taking that into Saturday against Dagenham, what are you expecting from the opposition on Saturday?
Tough game. Obviously our second away trip in 4 days. Their form's been mixed, so they're capable of beating anyone, but they're also obviously capable of being beaten. So obviously we want to focus more on ourselves, but I know the threats they've got, and we'll be prepared as a staff, and the players will be fully aware with their individual and team objectives to overcome the opponent.
Thanks for your time, James.
Thanks.
Hi James, good to speak to you again.
Hi Liam.
Just going back to Joe Rowley, what does it say about his commitment to the club that he has fallen back into that new wage structure?
I think it says a lot. I think it shows that he's intrinsically motivated to kick on with his game now and develop his game, but also he wants to do the best for the club. He does great stuff in the community as well. He's obviously come through the academy, and hopefully now he can kick on with his form.
And so it's quite a big blow for Tom Denton then, if it is sort of 10 weeks out. How big a disappointment is that, given he's your top goal scorer this season?
Yeah, goal scorers are hard to find, aren't they? So of course it's disappointing for the lad as well, because he was really enjoying it. I think he was really coming into good form as well before the injury. It's one of those things, but injuries are part and parcel of the game, and he needs to overcome that. I'm sure he will. He's a strong-minded lad, and it could be good news, but I can't really update you too much, other than obviously he's going to have the surgery, and when it opens up the knee, it's whatever's in there. But we're hoping it's just a clean-up, and it's going to be 10 weeks.
Could his absence potentially mean that you'd like to bring in another striker in the department to cover him?
Potentially. We're not really looking at that at the moment. We're focusing on the group we've got, and with all the scaremongering around the National League at the moment, I think it would be not wise to recruit at this stage, because obviously there's a vote going on over the weekend, and we'll find out more on Monday. But as I said, we'll just keep our heads down, concentrate on the focus on the group we've got. I think we're more than capable of getting a result tomorrow with this group, which we've shown in the last 7 weeks. Full focus on getting the win tomorrow.
Is Joel Taylor back available now?
He is, yeah. He needed a training. He was available Tuesday, but he didn't have enough training hours in him, training minutes. We were cautious with him. We could have thrown him in, but it wasn't worth the risk. So he comes back into the fold tomorrow with 4 good training days under his belt.
And I believe you're going to be missing Jack McCourt through suspension, 5th yellow card. Is that right?
Yeah, he's suspended, but it gives someone else an opportunity, doesn't it?
Yeah. Could that opportunity be someone like Jack Clark, who with obviously you've signed from Aston Villa, and we're yet to see yet? How is he settling in?
He's settling in really well. It could be Jack Clark. You're quite right. You'll be a good coach, you, Liam. Fully aware of who we've got, the player roster, but it could be him. He's a midfielder, so it could be him. It could be somebody else. We'll see when you get the line-up tomorrow. But he's settled in really well. Not such a successful loan at Yeovil for him. It happens with young lads. Sometimes it doesn't fit for whatever reason. He's come here. He's really getting up to speed now, settling in as well with the group, and he's trained very well this week.
Tuesday night was your 10th game in charge of Chesterfield. How do you assess how it's gone so far?
It's gone great. Settling in really well to the area. It's people in the building here, in the club, and also outside the club, the supporter base, made me feel really welcome. I think that's important as well for any human being really coming into a new area. So really thankful for that. Loving the challenge. With obviously our form has been very good, I would say. Better than my wildest dreams really, to pick up 17 from 8 league games, sorry. That's really good form. But the challenge is to continue that form, and football's relentless. You know, you can pick up a good result on Saturday and then you're straight onto the next opponent 3 days later, and that's what it is now for the rest of the season. We've got to roll our sleeves up, make sure our work ethic's good, train how we want to play as a group, and long may it continue with the form. I'm sure it can. You know, we can achieve anything this year still. Everything's still wide open, and that's a great place to be.
Well, thanks for your time, James, and good luck tomorrow. Unfortunately, we won't be there because we're not allowed in for COVID reasons, but we'll see you again next week.
You deserve a day at home, Liam. You deserve that day at home.
I'll be watching on the stream.
Morning, James.
Hi, how are you, Ian? You good?
I'm fine, thank you. I've had my first jab.
Have you? Brilliant.
Yeah. Did you feel we didn't quite have that finish that we needed on Tuesday in the last third?
You could say that. I think the injury rocked us, because the game plan, obviously, Joe was a major part of the game plan. It was working. We were causing problems. We were getting penalty area entries, deliveries, shots on goal in that first period, especially from around 18 to 27 minutes. Watching the game back, we were really in the ascendancy there. And it's hard for Liam to come on the pitch like that with that high tempo and get into it straight away. It's difficult for any sub to do that. I think it just rocked us a little bit. When we regrouped at half time, yes, in the second half you would expect to score with the pressure we had. We stopped all counter-attacks. There was no counter-attacks in that first period. In the second half, really strong when it popped out. And not a lot of fouling either. We regained the ball without fouling, which was impressive. So yeah, you could say in that 20-minute period we perhaps should have had more of a threat and more shots on target, and we didn't do that. But again, I reiterate, it's a good point away from home in London midweek, especially coming out of isolation.
It would have been good if Tom had been fit and available to have that extra option on the bench, wouldn't it?
Yeah, of course. As I said, he's a goal scorer, and they're hard to find at this level, at any level. So, you know, we know his worth, but we've got to look forwards, and you know, the solution isn't Tom's not available for this period, so the solution is somebody else, and I'm sure we'll find that solution.
And of course, despite Joe Rowley being injured, his new contract shows a great vote of confidence in him, which is perhaps something he needs at this point in his career.
Yeah, as well as short-term goals, you need long-term goals as a club. So there needs to be a mixture. Short, medium, long-term objectives need to be achieved. And Joe is... there's been a lot of pressure on him, I believe, reading in between the lines in the last few years to really perform. And that needs to come away from the young lad's shoulders. And he just needs a bit of love, confidence, and he needs to take the ball like he did against Boreham Wood. He's an exciting player. I'm sure when the crowd's back in, the attendance, etc., he gets bums off seats with his ability, and he's a dribbler. I really like him as a player and as an individual, as a human being. Great lad, and I'm sure he'll be firing when he comes back off the treatment table. I
think many supporters forget, because he seems to have been around for such a long time, but he's still such a young man, really.
Yeah, and sometimes with time, you don't know what you've got, because you're used to having that person around or that object around. Not that Joe's an object, but you sometimes you forget what you've got, and it's. I think he showed a reminder of what he's about. Coming on against Wrexham, he was a real threat, and he was a major part of us winning that game. And also on Tuesday, he showed his worth.
You seem to have transformed many of the original squad. I mean, Hollis is a revelation almost. Weston's doing better, and Rowley, of course, has shown his improvement. How have you done it?
Well, there's many facets, and it's never I, it's a we. I've got a strong support team here. I work closely with, obviously, the board, John, Mike, Martin, and Andy. So it's very much a team effort, and we're only in the early stages of what we want to do. It's a lot of building blocks that need to be put in place on and off the field, and we need to improve, obviously, what the staff are putting into the players, which we're doing. Individual programs, team programs, and making sure the training is a high intensity, which it is now. They're doing it themselves, and sometimes when you've got that environment and they're going on the pitch and training how they want to play, it can make a massive difference to what your intensity levels are consistently on the pitch in game time.
Of course, Jack McCourt's card. He's been an important member of the squad, hasn't he? It's going to be a bit of a loss for Saturday.
Yeah, but we've got a strong squad, and it's going to be about the squad. There's not to say that Jack would have started tomorrow, because he's played 2 games in the last week. So even if he was available, he might not have started. There's going to be changes regularly. There has to be, the way we want to play. I was just really pleased with, on Tuesday, how we dominated those 25 minutes of each half, first half and the second half. I think that's impressive, but it's only one game. We need to do that consistently. I want to dominate the ball and dominate the space and dominate the territory. That comes hand in hand with the space. So that's what we want to do. We want more shots on target than we did on Tuesday, but overall I'm delighted with coming out of isolation, obviously going through in the trophy, beating Wrexham at home and going away and getting a good point at Bournemouth. Now what can we do in these next 2, Dagenham and Kings Lynn?
Would you attribute the sort of lack of push in the final third and everything to a sort of COVID hangover with the frequent breaks that we've had to have, and then players being affected by COVID, perhaps being more fatigued, and even injuries perhaps?
There's loads of outliers that could have gone into why we didn't get any shots on target. Sometimes it's down to individuals' decision making. We certainly got in the areas and the positions to hurt them. It was just one of those nights, but on the flip side of that, I would rather focus on what a great clean sheet, what great opportunities we had to score. Didn't quite get that final finish or that final product, but it happens sometimes. Equally, we banged on the door for 89 minutes against Wrexham and found the winner in the 89th with great play. So I'm sure the players will keep getting in there. They've got the confidence to do that, and we've got to make sure we get the positions on the pitch tomorrow to score, which I'm sure we can.
Well, moving on to tomorrow, Dagenham and Redbridge have a rather mixed form at the moment, 3 wins and 3 losses, so always possible there. In terms of form, very, very similar. Their home form and our away form are very, very similar. But therefore, I believe that they play a very limited style and are susceptible, particularly to your sort of style of play. So that's quite encouraging.
You've done your homework. Maybe you should come into the coaches' meeting. Come in the coaches' meeting. You've got some good information there.
Well, these things have to be looked at, don't they? But
of course.
You do seem to have the right sort of style for this thing, because you're getting the results.
Stats are stats and facts are facts, but it comes down to the day. There's loads of outliers that can come into a game, loads of things that can come into a game. Anything can happen during the 90 minutes. We just got to make sure our structure's right. What I'm looking for is continual improvement on our performances and how what we're doing with the ball in deep areas, how we're playing through. Can we get in the final third of different variations? Can the players that come into the team perform to the same level that the ones that have been in the team over the last 2 games? And continuing the form really, and always concentrate on the performances, and the results will come.
finally, you mentioned about players moving on and everything else, but one of the perhaps unwanted bonuses of having a large squad is, even though temporary, is that maybe you have got those extra options, haven't you?
It's important we're going into this period with a larger squad than normal because of the games that are coming up, and we're still obviously in the trophy as well. So we're fighting on two fronts, and long may that continue.